A lot of people would ask me if I ever got mad at God. Or they'd ask me, do you have religion? And did you blame, whoever? And, and I mean, honestly, that's a pretty valid question. 'Cause some people, when they deal with things like that, the first thing they want to do is blame somebody or something. Blaming God's usually at the top of the list. But, it's like I said, when I experienced that coma, I mean, I was thinking, dude, this is as close to hell as I ever want to get it.
Sound your 1, 2. Sound your 3, 4. Unfinished.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. Today's guest was awarded the Purple Heart, Army Accommodation Medal, Army Achievement Medal, Public Service and Advocacy Medal Award, and is a national speaker and veteran advocate. But let's be clear, this episode isn't a story about survival. It's about what comes after. 48 days after an IED blast in Iraq, retired Staff Sergeant Shilo Harris opened his eyes to a life that began in pain. 3 brothers gone, a body built through fire and faith, every breath a reminder that coming home is its own kind of war. Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions, steps into that space between endurance and meaning, where scars become scripture and silence becomes story. Here, retired Staff Sergeant Shilo Harris speaks of echoes that never fade, of shadows that walk beside him, and of the quiet faith that kept him breathing when nothing else could. This conversation isn't about recovery, it's about legacy, what we owe the fallen, what we build from the ashes, and what it truly means to keep living after the battle moves inside. Shilo, man, a pleasure to meet you, my brother. Lisa K, it's a pleasure to have you on the podcast as well. And, Shilo, as I was reading that intro, what did I hit the marks? What was one thing that really kind of resonated with you?
Well, first, man, I got to say, what an introduction, man. Thank you. I thought you were calling off your own resume there for a minute. And then a minute ago when we did that pre-take, you were like, in the Bronze Star, I was like, well, that's not me, bro. That's you for sure. So thank you so much for your service. Man, thank you for having me on your show, too.
Absolutely.
And Lisa, thank you for having me come speak at your event.
Thank you.
I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be, I guess, who I am and where I am if it wasn't for individuals like you, professionals, people that want to give back to the community. And I'm so thankful just to be a part of that and be embedded in that and hopefully save a life, change a life, encourage better quality of life.
Yes.
And that's what we can do. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Awesome. In that intro, I mentioned a couple of things. I say it's echoes that never fade, shadows that walk beside you, and the quiet faith that kept you breathing when nothing else could. When I share that with you, what thoughts and feelings come to your mind?
Oh, wow. When you talk about the shadows, I mean, the first thing I thought, and you're absolutely right, great introduction, by the way.
Thanks.
And I'm just going to admit, I didn't read any of the questions that you sent me. You know why? Because I like to speak from the heart.
That's
I feel like, true testimonies that come from the heart and come from that deep spot is what really means something to people. And people can tell if you're, BSing or not, so to speak. So, when you said that shadow part, honestly, the first thing I thought of was that coma. Because I spent almost 50 days in a coma. And then even coming out of that coma, there was so much time, in that first year that I was so heavily medicated that there was barely a timeline that I was working off of. There's cornerstones, wherever it was in that time frame that I remember, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But, thinking about those shadows, now, that coma, I'm just going to tell you, and I've talked to other people who's been in coma, and they said it's as close to hell as they ever want to get. Because it is. It's dark, and, you think, oh, well, they're just out. Nah, man, it's kind of like this lucid dream state where you can sense people around you, but you can't talk to them. You're in pain. You can't tell them. You're thirsty. You can't ask for something to drink. I mean, it was horrible. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But they said it would have been worse, of course, if I hadn't been in that coma, because then I would have experienced all those surgeries and the in and out of anesthesia and stuff. And it probably would have, shut my kidneys down, my liver. I mean, goodness knows what else, right? All those medications. So
Yeah. When I was reading up on you and your story, I talked about 48 days in a coma, and you talked about those that even being in that coma was like pure hell.
Yeah.
I just had 2 hip surgeries, and they're nothing compared to what you went through. But I know for a fact when I when I had the anesthesia and the medication, I started seeing these demonic things going on, and it was very scary for me for each of those experiences. And I resonated that probably you had it times 100 in your situation, you know.
Yeah.
When you first opened your eyes after 48 days in a coma, what was the first moment that told you you were still here, and when and how did that awareness begin to shape the way you live?
Great question. And as I mentioned, it was hard to say the day one, because I mean, I really don't know. And even when they brought me out of the coma, it was such a gradual process.
Mm.
And it was like I was in ICU. I don't even remember the showers. Now, I remember one shower, and that's all I want to remember. When I say that, I mean, it's like they wheel you into the shower, and it's like you're laying on this, I want to say metal table kind of thing, and they have to scrub you, and it's called debriding, where they're cleaning all that stuff out. And, this was probably where they were kind of weaning me off my medication still. And oh my gosh, that was horrible. So, there's a lot of dark moments about this. But, if you don't mind, I'd like to just go ahead and jump in on a positive note.
Yes.
But it's also, I guess you could say, the cornerstone of me knowing what I was truly faced with.
Mm.
And yeah, there's plenty of dark moments that we could talk about, but you know what? We're here to talk about that legacy, and I'd like to lean towards that now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think the question was more geared to when did you say this is the next step forward? Like that when did you realize that you were in this situation and you were being, phased out of you said gradually through the coma. When was that one day where you're like, all right, let's go, like I gotta quit thinking about this in a negative light. Was there a specific moment that resonates with you? Was there a person that stood out that assisted you in that time that flipped that switch for you?
Yeah. The truth on that is, there's been many, obviously through the years.
Yeah.
But, that very first one was, and I'll share this on stage with almost every audience, whether I'm doing comedy or the motivation, the inspiration, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because I feel like this is good soup for the soul that reminds people how strong they are. And I'm hoping that I'm reminding them through my challenges and through the things that I was faced with. And it was the day that they came into my hospital room, and I was still, laid up, covered in bandages. I was in airplane splint still, couldn't really move my arm. So, as far as I knew, I felt okay here. But watching TV, again, heavily medicated, I knew I'd been hurt. But that was it, I didn't really know
Okay.
the extent of the damage. And the doctors and physical therapists and everybody come in. This is like a all hands thing. There's like probably 5, 6, 7 people in there.
Yeah.
And they're like, Sergeant Harris, today we want you to get up and take 10 steps. And I was like, 10 steps? I was like, man, I need 25-mile run marches. I was like, I want to own this hospital. Because it's like I said, I felt right here.
Yeah.
And I also knew how strong I was in the military. I knew how strong I was as a young man. And, so it was like, but getting out of bed was completely excruciating. Every bone, every joint, everything just screamed pain.
Mm.
And I know that may sound like an exaggeration, but it's really not. It was excruciating. And when I was able to stand up, I was almost so exhausted that I felt like I was going to throw up. And they're like, come on, you can do it. And I took 3 little tiny steps. Not even far enough that I couldn't fall back into bed, which I did.
Yeah.
I took those 3 steps and I just fell back down in that bed, and I was just, I couldn't breathe. I was out of breath. And anyway, I want to say this, and it's true, and it's not just for me. It's for everybody. Something that happens with us when we face big challenges like that is we start poisoning ourselves mentally by saying things like, we can't, it's too hard, things like that, right?
Yeah.
Well, I started doing that, of course.
Mm.
I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And they can't make me do it. They can't. They're just doctors and nurses. They don't know what the hell. I was like, I was already picturing me sitting on the front porch, drinking tea for the rest of my life. Whether I walk or not ever again.
Wow.
Well, this pity party went on for about 3 or 4 days. Then one of my really good friends come in, and, he would mentor me. We'd talk about the Bible. We'd talk about this, talk about a lot of different things. And I felt like maybe, it was my mom and him and my dad all had this thing planned, right? But he came in the day before, and then the next morning my mom came in, and she was feeding me breakfast. As I mentioned, I was in airplanes plus, and I couldn't use my hands and my arms. So, she would come in and feed me breakfast, and that was our special time.
Yeah.
Well, she was saying, we really need you to do this. Your family needs you, Shilo. And I'm like, I know, but I was still really half-hearted about it, Well, she leaves, and my dad comes in. My dad, military, infantry guy, paratrooper, and he just stands at the foot of my bed just staring at me. I knew there was a message, and as a young guy, I'm trying to kind of ignore it, and I'm still negative, and he dragged this thing out long enough, and I'm trying to watch TV, ignoring him, and then finally, he just kept standing there. I'm like, I feel him like staring a hole in me, and I finally was like, well, what is it? Being a smart ass about it, and he said, are you done, soldier? I was like, excuse me, sir? And he said, are you done, soldier? And it gives me chills every time I say it, and just even thinking about that moment. And, you think he put it on me like that, like, are you a quitter? Are you giving up? Is this it? Is this your legacy?
Wow.
And I was just like, it didn't take me a split second. And I said, no, sir, I'm not done. He said, then get your ass up and start doing the work. He left me with my thoughts. And bro, I'm gonna tell you, he got deep in there. I was like, where's the physical therapist? Let's get this show on the road.
That is so, man, that is like so amazing just to have that, your father, having this strength that you've obviously inherited from him, and just straight into your soul. What are your thoughts, Lisa? Okay.
That's a major tough love. For what you went through, for your dad to stand there and do that, that is love in a tough way, but it's love. And that's just amazing. Just amazing.
Shilo, when we first started, you talked about, not where, that here, let me reset this for a second. One of the things when I sit down with individuals like yourself and other individuals that have had their own hill to fight and conquer, right, is I always say that their suffering is very sacred, and it's I always say that the opportunity for you to share your story, and you've obviously gotten, practiced your way into being, knowing your story and owning it. And I always say it's something sacred, and it's a treasure when someone gives me the time to, or shows interest in sharing that story with me. So I want you to know that I honor it, and we're here to honor like I said, this is not about the suffering, it's about the legacy that I mentioned. And I just want you to know that I value your experience, and anything you share, if you're uncomfortable, just let me know. We'll walk through that a different way.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Honestly, there's not much that I'm too shy to share about. And speaking of that, funny story. I was on a trip with some veterans, right, and their spouses, and anyway, most of them were younger than me, so I kind of feel like I'm the older guy, which is fine. I'm big brother to a lot of them. That's cool. Well, and we all have shared like crazy stories already, right? Obviously, and these are guys that I work with pretty often. Well, I could see the girls like sitting in the back, like, and I don't know why. I just felt like it was something that they were like, I don't know, building up for, and I don't know why, but I felt like it was directed at me. And then I thought, I was like, what are you girls doing? And they said, Shilo, we have a super personal question. And I was like, more personal than some of the things we've already shared. I'm like, damn. I was like, well, let's get deep in here quick, And anyway, they started giggling, and they said, how do your glasses stay on?
Oh my God.
And I was like, what? I was like, that's your burning question, really? And they're like, well, you don't have ears. And I was like, correction, I do have ears. I was like, I just don't always wear them, I was like, I got Spock ears, I got cauliflower ears, I got regular ears. I'm thinking about having alcoholic ears made, for when I'm drinking cocktails or something. So have some green ones for St. Patty's Day.
Sure.
So when they said that, like that super personal question, they asked me about that, I was like, I guess I'm good at shopping for glasses, like, I don't know. It's just so funny, but I find it therapeutic to be able to do this,
Yeah.
And, you know, if it's something that's too personal, I mean, I've learned how to do how some of these politicians do where, you know, the question's over here, but, we answer over here.
Yeah.
You know, like, so I get it. It's all good.
When we first started this, you also talked about, coma was a version of hell. How did those visions influence the way you understood fear, pain, and the human spirit's ability to return to its own darkness? Like when you were going through it, like how did you understand fear, pain, and the human spirit's ability to return from its own darkness?
That's a good question, and I think I'm gonna lead it in on this note because
Really?
first thing that I started thinking about was, a lot of people would ask me if I ever got mad at God, or they'd ask me, "Do you have religion, and did you blame whoever?" And and I mean honestly, that's a pretty valid question. 'Cause some people, when they deal with things like that, the first thing they want to do is blame somebody or something. Blaming God's usually at the top of the list. But, it's like I said, when I experienced that coma, I mean, I was thinking, dude, this is as close to hell as I ever want to get it. So it helped me actually lean towards my faith. And as far as the speaking, I mean, I cut a lot of my teeth, as far as, using a scenario or whatever you want to call it, metaphor there. I cut my teeth in speaking in ministry. And it was just, again, something that I kind of fell into. It's not something that I shove down people's throat, of course. Because here's the thing is I found out that whatever your faith is, you should lean in on it. Whether it's Christianity or whatever, but something positive. You need to fill your life with as many positive things as possible. And that coma, bro, I'm gonna tell you, it was so dark and so weird that it kind of pushed me to the light. It pushed me to fill my life with positive things. And again, I didn't intend on being a motivational speaker. It just happened. I'm just a happy guy. I don't have bad days. I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, and believe it or not, I'm a little recluse too. I have to build myself up like, I can do this. Let's go out here and be in the crowd, And then I'm like, I'm in, and then I'm out. Then I'm in, then I'm out.
That's great.
But, that's part of it. That's part of who we have to be as leaders. That's how we have to be as Christians. That's how we have to be as people in our community leading, such as you, Lisa, like your program. And I can't wait to speak there, in fact.
Can't wait for you too.
That'd be awesome.
Share you with the whole community.
Sorry, we had a audio issue. What do you call it?
Say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's Lisa K.
I don't know.
Lisa.
It's Lisa K.
Lisa K, did I say that? What did I say?
Lisa.
Oh, okay. Lisa K. Oh, that's right. Lisa K. I've been meaning to ask you that if it was Lisa K or if you do Lisa. So Lisa K.
Yep.
Okay, I like that. No power name. Lisa K.
There's some friends that'll be watching this, and they know I correct everything.
Yeah, I'll be at
I am blaming when he was speaking, when we interviewed him, and I corrected him, and he goes, "You have to do that a lot, don't you?"
Yeah, Brian Fleming. I think he's a close. We're familiar with Brian Fleming, and
I love him.
yeah, he's a
Great man.
great dude. That explosion claimed the lives of 3 soldiers you considered brothers. I'd like to honor them by saying their names in this podcast. When the noise and movement of daily life fade, how do you carry them with you?
Well, I mean, I guess another big motivator for me to do what I do. I feel like I honor them, and I honor a lot of the other men and women that have given everything for our country. And I'm sure that you both can relate and recognize that they are our greatest assets. I mean, they literally gave everything for us. And so I'm so grateful, for the men that I served with, really good men. And am I saying their name or are you?
You can say their name.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So Sergeant Sean Duncan, he was my roommate and obviously fellow NCO, loved him. And then Adair Cleveland, he was my gunner that day. And then Matthew Bowe, he was my medic, and he was also in the back seat. And so me and my driver were the only 2 that survived. And I'm telling you, I mean, the good men, obviously, I mean, they believed in what we were doing. They believed in being in the military. I mean, they loved America, come from really good families. And I'm so proud and honored that I got to spend the time that I got to spend with them on this earth.
Can you say their name one more time?
Adair Cleveland, Sean Duncan, and Matthew Bowe.
All right, guys, that's what we do here. We honor the fallen, and I'm glad you shared those names with me because I was trying to figure them out so I could, introduce or just say their name. But, it's so important that we take that time to do that. You've been speaking about your role of faith in your healing, right? During those moments when you're trapped between pain and recovery, what did faith look like for you as a private conversation?
I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Okay. During those moments when you were trapped between pain and recovery,
Yep.
what did faith look like to you as a private conversation?
Well, I've come to understand and believe that God makes us uncomfortable to draw us closer to Him. Because it's like if you're going through challenges, again, it's either you deny God or you run towards God.
Yeah.
So I was one of those that I ran towards God. And I feel like, and in fact, when COVID happened, I lost a lot of my work as a speaker, because there wasn't conventions, nobody getting together. So I was like, I decided to turn it into lemonade. I was like, that's cool, it's all right. But I went to school at University of Incarnate Word in San Antonio.
Okay.
Great school, great campus. And I went for religious studies. But I was kind of hoping it would teach me more about religion and how I can help other people. But it was also a personal growth journey as well. I wanted to learn more about, I guess I like the foundation of Christianity. I wanted to learn more about, the apostles. I wanted to learn more about these things because I felt like, it was so influential, but I didn't quite understand it, which is religion in a way. It's the mystery, right?
Yeah.
But it is also called faith for a reason. And God is love.
Yeah.
And so, again, I filled my life with all these positive things. And I mean, there's no greater love than God.
Man, I love that. I love that you turned, you turned to getting stronger, more relationship resilience with Christ and the journey and understanding what every prolific figure in the Bible, what their purpose was and their cause. I'm sure that was an amazing journey for you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Is there a particular figure in the Bible that resonates with your story?
Yeah, the whole book of Job.
Yeah.
There's a lot of verses there, and I'd be lying if I was to say one.
Yeah.
I don't really remember all that kind of stuff like that, but I've been doing OCIA. I've been working on becoming Catholic here recently, and I don't know. I'm one of those guys for originals. You know what I mean? I like Ford. I drive a Ford pickup. I like drinking Coca-Cola if I drink sodas. And I'm gonna tell you, if you're gonna follow Jesus, I don't think there's any closer than Catholic Church. And that's just my opinion. Because I feel like it's the original. I mean, that's Jesus's church.
Yeah.
The apostles started that church, and so it's like, why not become Catholic? So that's what I've been doing, and it's been a great experience.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I was raised Catholic, so I understand everything like in the Catholic faith, how sacraments and that whole experience. Yeah, very sure. You were part of pioneering regenerative research that used stem cell to regrow tissues on your hand. How did standing in the intersection of science and faith change the way you understood what the human body and soul are capable of?
Yeah, another great question. Hey, by the way, you're really good at this. You should have a podcast.
I should, right? No, when you have so much valuable information, and I feel like we got to get down and get some of that juice from you,
The special.
Oh yeah, for sure. I don't. Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that? How did your intersection with faith and your understanding of the human body?
Well, I mean, just like our modern world as it is. I mean, technology and I should say just STEM in general.
Yeah.
Science, technology, and electronics. All this stuff is developing so quickly that I mean, I don't know how any one person will be able to stay on top of it. But that stem cell, it was crazy because it was my father again. I remember he saw me one day. This finger right here, ultimately I had it removed, but it was the index finger, my pointer finger, and it was missing. It had like a little stub. And my dad was walking around the hospital one day and saw this sign for stem cell. Well, I guess later that day or later that week, he saw me trying to grab something with this hand because this hand was full, and he could see that little stub was in the way. It was pushing whatever it was I was trying to grab, and I was like, and he said, wouldn't it be cool if you could grow that finger back? And I was like, you mean like Star Wars and Luke Skywalker, you know? And I was kind of joking around, but he said, yeah, he said, I saw this stem cell research at the hospital. So I brought it up to my PA, and I mean, you should see the stars in their eyes. They're like, you'll do it? I mean, but they were looking for a candidate, and I didn't know that. And so, I mean, this turned into be a pretty big deal. They had film crews in the OR. I mean, it was like a big deal. And that's not why I did it. But, you know, I was thinking, well, if I could be you know, part of this research and potentially grow my finger back, why not? But here's the other thing, you know, I'm at Fort Sam Houston, and it's a training facility.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they train. They also have the Surgical Research Center right there, which they're on the cutting edge of research, trying to push the industry forward, you know, so we can better help people. And I felt like I was a part of that as well. You know, I was like, why not, you know?
Yeah.
And so I did it. We had about, I want to say 4 or 5. I don't. I mean, it's been a little while, so don't quote me entirely on that. Kind of a guesstimate, 3 or 4 or 5 surgeries, and you know, and we had moderate success. We grew about a fourth of an inch of bone and about a half inch of flesh. But they knew that they could grow flesh.
Wow.
And so that was the thing. And so the thing was they're trying to develop bone. And of course, you know, I had to go back and forth to surgery. Well, at that point, I'd already had so many surgeries, you know, that eventually I was like, you know, I don't have a finger yet. You know, I'm like, I don't think I can do this for the next year. And I mean, it was a lot, you know. So eventually I stepped away from it. But again, we had moderate success. And that technology or that research actually overflowed into helping other burn survivors with what they call some kind of like a paste, stem cell paste or pixie dust paste. And instead of having to do so many donor sites, which is where they take skin to put over areas where it's not going to, you know, heal quickly or well at all. You know, they take that skin and they put it there. Well, that paste is a replacement for having to have so many donors. You know what I mean? Like taking the skin, because I mean, overall, I was only burned 35% of my body. But now, with the donor and the grafts, it's, I mean, I'm probably like 80% scar tissue, guessing, you know, so, I mean, there's not really many parts of me that aren't scarred.
Wow.
So, isn't that quite, that's wild.
That's crazy. I think it's so like, it's like, you know, omnipresence of God in your life to will you to say yes, you know, to the research and to go down that journey several times, not just once, right? And multiple procedures, and for you to just have that pure faith of saying, let's just go for it. Let's see let's do this and see where we're going to go. And now it's paying it forward to somebody else's, journey with it, what they struggle with as well. So that's amazing.
And probably not just military, you know, because I don't know if you'll know this or not, but Brooke Army Medical Center, the burn center, they take care of civilian burn survivors as well. You know, I mean, I've met people from the oil field out there. I've met people from welding accident, car accident. I mean, you name it. You know, if they burn, you know, they I mean, this is the best place for them to go, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now, maybe statistically somebody else says something different, but I'm going to tell you, I love Brooke Army Medical Center. They've always taken great care of me, and the burn center is absolutely, in my opinion, hands down the best in the world.
Awesome. You've reflected that everything in life is a gift. What did it take for you to believe that? And what sustains you, sustains that belief on the days you remember the heavy pain, the heaviness of the pain you went through?
I think it's a mind shift. As I said, you know, we all have dark days. We have bad days. Everybody does. You know, I don't, you know, I mean, nobody's immune to having a bad day. And, you know, when you're having a bad day, it's hard to think positive. It's hard to see the good things in your life. But, you know, I mean, honestly, you probably know this as well, you know, going to some of these countries that we go to, you know, I mean, you see they don't have much. If anything, I mean, I like when we were in Baghdad, you know, I mean, we saw the same kids often, and they were often wearing the same clothes almost every day. You know, rarely did you see them in different clothes, you know, different outfits and stuff. So, I mean, the poverty is, you know, I mean, extent over there.
Right.
And I believed in what we were doing. I believed in, you know, we're trying to help these people. We're trying to make a positive difference in their lives. You know, here, you know, the United States, and I'm not saying by any means that we're spoiled, you know, but I feel like it's easier. It would be a lot easier if we looked at the things in our life and the quality of life that we have here in the United States as a gift. I think we'd all be a lot happier. That's just my opinion. I mean, I've got a vehicle, I got a nice vehicle, I've got a house, I got a roof over my head. You know, I mean, we've got services all over the country. But when you start measuring those things in your life, what's the most important to you? And I feel like a lot of people during COVID realized that they are lacking time with their family. You know, and I will tell you this. I mean, I had so many people saying, I feel like a super parent right now, you know, because it's like the kids couldn't go to school and they're, you know, trying to teach your kids stuff at the house. And it was like people really connected with their family again. So even though there's so much bad stuff going on, there were so many people looking at the positive, like, oh my gosh, I do have beautiful children. Oh my gosh, you know, I have a pretty good life. Even though it doesn't look great for this, you know, this is positive. And that's really what we have to do. And I call it that aerial view.
Yeah.
You know, take an aerial survey, take an aerial view of your situation and look at all the positives. And if you're having a bad day, and if you can pinpoint where that bad thing is and take it out or kick it out, whatever you got to do, you know, start figuring out how to cut that out of your life, it's just going to be better for you.
Any good books that you read? Have you written? I know you have one. You're an author of Steel Will, right? Share a little bit about.
Well, I think that book's so great. I just keep reading that same book.
Like the author and everything.
Like, man, that was a good book. I better read it again.
No, share with me. First of all, talk about a Steel Will. I didn't. Yeah, I would love for you to share a little bit about it so we can see where people can get it as well.
Well, as I told you, when I first came into the studio, I just became a yes guy, right? You know, and people would say, hey, you want to do this? I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, and then I'm like, what did I just commit to? You know, I went to, it's called Entrepreneurial Boot Camp for Veterans, the EBV, and they offered one at Texas A&M through the Mays Business School, and they offer them at other campuses across the country. And I think it started at Syracuse, New York. Anyway, but long story short, heck, I hope I'm on track here still. So, okay, the book, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I went to the EBV course, and I met business leaders and, you know, professors and different people in different industries that were successful that was there to help coach us on our business ideas and kicking our businesses off. And I met a Green Beret, and he started talking about his sister, and he said, you should write a book. And I was like, I don't know, man. You know, that was probably the first time that I ever didn't just run at it, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. I said, you know, telling my story on stage is one thing, you know, but it's like putting it in a book. I was like, you know, there's some hard truths that I don't know if I want to share and leave it out there like that.
Yeah.
You know, but we looked at it as a tool. And he didn't tell me, but apparently he told his sister. She came to one of my presentations, and she started writing the book without really telling me.
Wow.
But she wrote about a chapter. She sent it to me in an email. She introduced herself, and she was like, what do you think? And I'm reading it, and I was like, no, well, first of all, you make it sound like a badass, you know. I was like, it feels good, looks good, you know. But I said, I just don't know. And she encouraged me. She said, I've got a lot of experience. She said, I'm a librarian. It's like, blah, blah, blah. She said, it's going to change your life. And she was right, you know. And anyway, but the one thing that she asked me, though, she said, if we write this book, she said, what's your goal with it? And I think this might have helped her with her purpose in her writing, because she was like, you want to make money with it, or, you know, what's the deal? And I told her, and, you know, this has been my mentality through all of this. I said, if I can save one life, I said, it's worth it. If we can save one life, it's worth it.
Yeah.
It's priceless. One life is priceless. We had to lose so many service members in combat that we shouldn't lose one person right here in the home in the United States or anywhere, wherever they are, that have served in our military to protect our country. We should not lose one person to suicide. And that was my thought, because about that time, one of my friends had committed suicide that I served with. And I was like, it helped push me over that hump of, do I want to do this or not? And she said, okay. And then I told her about, you know, my buddy, and she said, all right. And so we filled that book with as many positive things as we could, resources and that sort of thing for veterans. And of course, it's got a great storyline.
Yeah.
And a lot of it I wrote. You know, and she just kind of helped polish it out for me. So I feel really good about it. I hope other people will too.
That's awesome. What are your thoughts, Lisa K?
Yeah. Writing your thoughts from here to paper, from your life experience, didn't that also cleanse you and your soul, maybe release some of the pain? memory pain. I ask that because I went through some trauma in my younger days, and God led me to an English course, and the professor taught me how to write. And so the story I wrote was about being a middle child. And what I didn't know until the end was I was crying the whole time. I was pouring my heart out on paper. And then when I finished the story, I was somehow healed from the hurt. So that's why I thought, well, maybe that cleansed you in some sense, getting some of it out of your mind and onto paper.
That's beautiful, man. That's awesome. Just having that ability to, I say you you got to put it in writing, right? You got to put it out in the world and let that faith show in your works, right? Like this example of your book is a measure of your faith and your trust in Christ the whole way, and that the living testimony. That's a true living testimony, right? Because we're gonna die, but you have it out there in the world now. It's become a living entity in this world, and that's inspiring. Likewise with you, Lisa K, with your books too. Let's make a shift on talk about. We got an exciting event, the Veterans and First Responders Appreciation Event. Lisa K, lead us into this. Lisa K, lead us into this, and lead us into what the event's about and what we can expect this year.
Yeah. So we're walking into our 7th annual Fellowship Power Lunch Veterans and First Responders Appreciation Event. Very excited about it. It's November the 18th at the Toyota Stadium National Soccer Hall of Fame in Frisco, Texas. The doors open at 11 to 1:30. Sergeant Shilo is our guest speaker. I can't wait for y'all to come on out and meet this man and learn about his faith and his story. And there's so many comrades, so many beautiful servicemen and women that will be there. So Rush, last year, out of 305 guests, we had 172 that were servicemen and women, and most of them were in uniform. There's nothing more powerful than that.
Yeah.
And lots of love and lots of faith and just lots of greatness.
Awesome. It's fantastic. This is it's going to be an honor to have you as the keynote speaker for the event. And when you're the keynote speaker of the events, what do you like people to leave with when you're done?
As I mentioned, I like to make sure that they understand how strong they are. I do that through my testimony, because I was at probably the worst state that I would have been ever in my life. I looked frail. I looked like a little old man, I couldn't even stand up, and, that kind of damage to my body, it would have been super easy for me to give up. And I see some people crawl into a shell, things like this happen and they're like, boop, checking out, they fade off. They really become reclusive and, they let it go. But I did want to go ahead and answer your question though about the journaling and writing, and I find it extremely therapeutic. I didn't realize that I was going to find it therapeutic in that book, but I had already been journaling and writing a lot of my thoughts, because I try to retain everything, but I don't know if you recognize my hood or not, but man, it's a miracle I remember my name some days. So, but I did find writing and journaling very therapeutic, and I've actually mentored other writers. They've asked, how do I get started? And I'm like, just start writing, start putting whatever's pouring out of your head on paper, and you'll find yourself in tears, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for that. Can I add one more thing, Rush?
Absolutely.
Ladies and gentlemen, we still need sponsors. And this is a call to action. Step up. Go on to fellowshippowerlunch.com. Click the Veterans tab. There's areas all over my website that you can sponsor. You can reach out to me directly at fellowshippowerlunch@gmail.com. Veterans, first responders, this event is complimentary to all of you. So there's no reason why you will not be there. Go on to fellowshippowerlunch.com/veteran, get registered, and bring your spouse. We'd love to see you there, and I look forward to giving you a big Texas hug.
I love that big Texas hair. So I got to tell you, it's funny though. All right, so there's a lady. She come to one of my book signings, and she had the big Texas hair. You know, lots of hairspray, and it's kind of poofy. Well, she gave me a hug, and my ear got hung in her hair. And I did not, and she's just sitting there just talking away, and my ear is in her hair. And I'm like, I don't know how to get this ear, you know, without freaking her out. And I mean, I said, just give me 1 second. And I'm reaching out, and she's already like, what the hell are you doing, you know? And I pulled my ear out, and she was like, oh. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, you know, your grandpa steals your nose.
Yeah.
Look at that. My grandfather, he stole my nose. He forgot to give it back. So that's the other thing I'm going to share is we're going to have some fun. So not only are we going to talk about overcoming adversity and those challenges in your life, but I'm pretty funny. At least people think I'm pretty funny. I think I'm just funny looking, but people think I'm pretty funny and saying stuff too. But I have ears, and I'll be juggling those on stage. Maybe, I don't know. But no, here's the thing: is we're gonna have a lot of fun. It's gonna be a great presentation, and I'm just gonna tell you, I'm extremely honored. I'm extremely honored to be there with my fellow brothers and sisters that have served and still serve. And for all you first responders, man, God bless you for putting yourselves out there each and every day. So yeah, man, I feel really good about it. Super excited.
Shilo, man, it's great to have you on Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. You know, Lisa K and I have been working shoulder to shoulder in this veterans and first responders appreciation for years, and to see it evolve in such a magnificent way, and has high agency, high level, strong humanity and understanding of the human potential. Someone like you speak on that at the event's going to be an amazing blessing for everyone who attends, and I look forward to watching you in action and laughing. And I already know what we can expect from this. I have already documented what we can expect, and no, it's been really cool to meet you, Shilo. Admiration and respect for everything you are and you represent. And
Thank you.
yes, sir. I hear everything resonates with me and what you've been through. So I appreciate you, man. And thank you again for coming on Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. All right, guys, that's it for Unfinished Business, a podcast for veterans pursuing new life missions. As I always say, have peace and enlighten you, and remember that the ocean refuses no river.
Sound your 1, 2.